Well, away from the traffic, we now take you into TechNote, where Uganda now has some uranium deposits, and the president himself, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, has often said that the government is keen to exploit them for potential nuclear energy development. Now, government is thus in the final stages of preparations to start the generating of some 12,000 megawatts of electricity from 5 nuclear plants to be built in 5 districts scattered around the country, 4 geographic regions in that bit. Now, one of the strategies is to put up a nuclear energy plant by 2026 in a fervent push to lower the country's energy deficit and electricity tariffs in a bid to boost industrialization in our country.
Concerns have, however, been raised over safety of atomic energy and security of radioactive materials and associated facilities in Uganda. Some of the items that contain radioactive material that were interfaced within our day-to-day life include microwaves, mobile phones, x-rays, CT scans, ultrasound, etc. There is also concern about safe ways of disposing of such items. And today we have the CEO of the Atomic Energy Council, Mr. Noah Deogracius Luwarira, and Natharius Nimbashabira, a senior radiation protection officer that we're having here today. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Ugandans have their concerns. It happens. And every single time something new that we don't have that much knowledge about hits the papers, hits social media platforms, we have our concerns, quite understandably.
Yes.
But recently when the president was delivering the State of the Nation address, started mentioning things that some of us sounded like we were in a news movie script, because these are not things that we are used to listening to or hearing in our country. When they start talking about atomic energy in Uganda, and you even find out that there is an Atomic Energy Council in Uganda, it's wow, we have already gotten there. But for someone that is probably hearing of this the first time today, you are the guys that sit on this council. You are in charge. You have more knowledge about this. For how long has this been around? For how long have you had it in the pipeline? Now that the president has told us about it, you guys have been working in the background for some time. So give us a brief intro about this atomic energy that we now have in the country. What is it capable of doing? And then we'll get into the worries of sorting the worries of Ugandans.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'll introduce myself. I'm Noah Deogracius Luwarira. I'm the Secretary and Chief Executive Officer of the Atomic Energy Council.
Okay.
Briefly, Atomic Energy Council is a government body established by Atomic Energy Act number 24, 2008, with the mandate to regulate peaceful applications of ionizing radiation, that is nuclear energy, in the country, and also it has a mandate to provide for the protection of the people and the environment from the dangers resulting from the use of nuclear technology. Now, Atomic Energy Council is not new. It has been in place since 2008 when the Act was enacted. And the nuclear technology has been in use in Uganda for a long time. If you refer back, Uganda became a member of the International Atomic Energy Agency in 1967. Before that and after that, nuclear technology has been used in this country, in the medical field, in research, in industrial field, and also in agriculture. So I've been using this technology for quite some time. However, there are many practices where nuclear energy is used. One of it, which we have not yet developed, but we are in the process of developing, that is nuclear power. We can get nuclear power from nuclear energy, and that's where the president is coming up to say, yes, we have a resource to embark on this, to get the advantages associated with this resource. Because nuclear power in general is cheap in the long run, cannot pollute the environment, environmental friendly, and really, if you want to develop in the long term, you must embrace this technology. However, what is clear and well known, that this technology, if not properly managed, properly regulated, then it can have adverse side effects.
Well, Mr. Warrior, with that introduction, let's also take a watch on something to do with nuclear development, nuclear energy development within our country, because you give a history to it, but for the viewer to also get more into it, let's just take a watch at this.
As Uganda prepares to embrace the introduction of nuclear energy in regards to power generation, the Uganda Atomic Energy Council has to ensure that nuclear security and safety is put into consideration.
Nuclear safety, in simple terms, means protecting the people from the dangers that may result from the use of radioactive sources. And nuclear security is protecting the radioactive sources from the people.
Experts from different African countries are in Kampala for a training course on authorization and inspection for the security of radioactive material and associated facilities.
In as much as we are saying there are the beneficial uses of radiation, there is the danger of radiation that is posed by the use of this material. So we need to ensure that people are safe, the environment is safe from whatever harmful effects that may be caused by radiation.
According to the CEO of the Atomic Energy Council under the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, Uganda is on a path to a middle-income economy, and with that, the option of using radioactive material and nuclear energy cannot be ignored.
The medical practices, the industrial practices, in research and education, in agriculture, it has been used. However, we had not taken up nuclear technology in power generation, which we are now embarking on.
Since 2008, when Parliament passed the Atomic Energy Act, Uganda has taken significant strides towards the development of nuclear power with the hope of setting up a nuclear power plant. This is in a bid to hit the government target of 40,000 megawatts of electricity as part of the goals under Vision 2040. Suhail Mugabi, NTV.
Now, from what you just watched, one thing that keeps popping up is the safety. It might be a place that we can actually be able to tap into energy resource, but when it comes to the safety of each and every citizen, and most especially for those people within the regions where it's going to actually be gotten from. Now, bringing in Mr. Nimbashabira onto the conversation. You're a senior radiation protection officer. How safe can a person be from this? And before we even get into the safety, the effects of one being exposed to this radiation. What happens if one is exposed?
Okay, thank you for that question. There are many things which can happen when one is exposed. Some are short-term, others are long-term. If you are exposed to too much radiation, you can actually die. If you don't die, you can get skin burn, you can get skin reddening, you can develop eye cataracts, you can lose hair. That is to the extreme. So those are the ones where which we normally call deterministic effects, where the effects occur immediately after exposure between 1 day to 14 days. However, there are others which occur after a long period of time, and one of the observable effects is development of cancer, among other effects. And radiation does not only affect human beings, it has got almost the same effects to other living organisms and plants, because what normally targets on a living organism is the DNA. Because plants also, in their nature, they have DNA. Human beings, in their nature, have DNA. Wild animals have DNA. So those are the major effects, short-term, long-term.
So how do we safeguard ourselves from that? Because as you mentioned, it's not only me, but my crops, my animals.
Yes, so there are a number of things which are done to safeguard people, the society and the environment from that. And one of them is the reason why Atomic Energy Council was established, because it's an overseer. He mentioned that there is that organization, the International Atomic Energy Agency, that's a world overseer. But each member state is encouraged to establish the same regulatory body to oversee the activities within the state to ensure that they are used safely. So at the national level, there are a number of things which are established. For example, you have to establish a system for authorizing these facilities or the users. Also, a system for inspections, because you have to verify compliance, among other things. So when you have those systems of authorization, inspections, control of import and exports, then you can guarantee that people are safe. Those who are using, those who are in the public domain.
Mr. Luwadida, probably this is not a question that I should be posing to you because you are the ED and Secretary General of the Council, but atomic energy or nuclear energy, like we call it. Earlier on, we were talking about taxes, and of course, we are looking forward to the budget speech, and we were talking about priorities. Nuclear energy, atomic energy. Is it something that we need to give that much attention right now in our country? Is it something of that much importance that needs to be prioritized to the level that we have prioritized it, that now it even features in the State of the Nation address? Like I said before, it's a wrong question to ask you because it's almost asking you to say, no, my job is not very, very important. But is it a priority for us here in Uganda right now?
Thank you for that question. In my view, we even took long to embrace this kind of energy. That's why we need to fast track it, because you cannot develop sustainably without constant supply of power. So if your vision is to develop in a sustainable manner, you must have constant supply of power uninterrupted. So in my view, it is a priority now to consider it, start developing it, because first of all, it takes a long time, 10 to 15 years when a decision is taken to develop and have power from nuclear energy. So to start now, we are not late, though we delayed.
Okay.
So we only delayed, but we are not late. We can still achieve.
I think you're aware that we are using atomic and nuclear, which is a language that very many of us in Africa and Uganda can relate to, because we usually see it in the papers. And the results of nuclear production is something that we are well clear of. For an ordinary Ugandan that has probably been watching a lot of CNN and BBC and reading all these international headlines, where every time they mention nuclear energy, you know the fight that is in between. Are we safe as a country to start having that discussion of nuclear energy? Are we safe?
Yes, I must say we are safe, because there are two things to nuclear energy. It can be used for peaceful, for peaceful applications. It can be used for non-peaceful applications. But the non-peaceful application is internationally prohibited. If we become a member of the NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty, then we are not supposed to use nuclear energy for non-peaceful applications. Uganda is a member of NPT, which means it has to use this energy for only peaceful applications. Okay. And therefore, we are safe to talk about it in any forum, as long as it is for peaceful applications.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Luwadida and also Mr. Nibashabira, one thing that we'd want to come into conversation with is that we're a country where unemployment is high. Situations such as 5 plants means employment for a number of people, but sensitization of these people on the effects of radiation, because it might seem like a job, very exciting, you have money, but getting each and every person within the community, and even as a Ugandan, to understand the positive side of it, but also the negative side of it. How far has the council come with that?
Of course, when we embark on this program, the fact is that the promotion of this program is upon the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, and the Nuclear Energy Unit is solely responsible by law to promote nuclear energy technology, and also to provide for power generation from nuclear energy. Atomic Energy Council is in place to regulate, to ensure that our people are safe and protected from dangers that may result from the use of that technology. Now, when such development is made to build nuclear power plants, of course, there are a number of jobs, and people will be free to take them up if they have the necessary qualifications. Now, what we are doing now is to build capacity, both in the promotion side and also in the regulatory side. And for us on the Atomic Energy Council, we are doing all that it takes to develop this capacity with the support of the International Atomic Energy Agency, through training, through technical advice, through developing regulatory documents and things like that. So this will ensure that when this technology is in use, people are safe, people are protected, and even these facilities are secure. That's what we talk about, nuclear security. They have to be protected from any persons who may have adverse effects, adverse acts upon these facilities to sabotage and so on. There are going to be measures to be put in place, supervised, verified, that okay, they can give assurance that the facilities will be safe. And if the country is going to that, it has been done in other countries and can be done here.
You mentioned that your role is to regulate.
Exactly.
And of course, you're looking at having, when you're going to provide jobs, like you say, well, the jobs will be there for the people, but you're looking for qualified people.
Yes.
Because now many Ugandans are just, well, from the State of the Nation address, had it then. As a council, what are you doing to educate the people, to train them? Do you have training centers, training facilities for the few that might be interested in taking up some of these jobs? Because as a council, you're interested in having people that are qualified for these jobs. But yes, you are not going to just wake up in the morning and ask for qualified people if there haven't been opportunities available for them to hit those qualifications. So as a council, what are you doing? Where are you doing it, and when? So that a Ugandan who is watching here today and is interested in taking up that opportunity, what are the qualifications do they need, and where can they get those qualifications?
Thank you very much. The government actually is already doing that, because when set up the council, it is facilitating it. Even the ministry is being facilitated. First of all, to train people who are interested in this area. But generally, our universities here provide the basic minimum training, and this is in science subjects, chemistry, physics, which I did, engineering, and a number of fields which are of value in this technology. Basic training is offered here. However, when you are going to get the qualified people, you need extra training on top of that. At the moment, the country does not offer this extra training because we don't have the capacity. And now we are accessing this capacity through the International Atomic Energy Agency in the countries where already capacity has been built. In Africa, it has been done so in Ghana, in South Africa, and other countries. In Europe and the US, these systems are already developed. In China, in Korea, these are already developed. And Uganda is sending its people in these countries for training in this area. That is at the first starting point. But when the government established the council acquired the land in Mpoma to build the facilities, among which there will be training centers where specialized training will take place for the people who are interested in this area. And so once these facilities are set up, then people will be getting this specialized training we are looking for outside. Even more training in specialized areas will be introduced in our universities to produce qualified people at a large scale.
Okay.
And
So
these programs have already started.
Wow.
So we see that definitely as the council and even as the government, a lot of strides are being made on that end.
Exactly.
But what happens to that person, and this is when I bring in Mr. Imbashabira, that one person or that whoever, that company that fails to make sure they protect the society against radiation, or the people that they bring into the nuclear plants, if they fail to do what they're supposed to do, What are the penalties for someone like that?
Thank you so much. In the beginning, of course, you brought the highlight of the conference which we are hosting, the regional conference consisting of many member states from Africa, English speaking, which is about licensing, inspection and enforcement. So the reason why, for example, this conference is we are hosting it, it's something that is periodic because we have to keep on training and training. The International Atomic Energy Agency, of course, sets standards which we have to follow. It means the way we regulate in Uganda should be the same other countries are doing it. Otherwise, it makes no sense for you to put in more efforts while the other state is not doing anything, because these things are moving from one country to another. So, basing on that, through the system of inspection and enforcement, it is expected that these facilities or operators, they comply with the requirements. And if they don't, then there are also enforcement actions. For example, in the Atomic Energy Act, they are very clear. You can be taken to court, we can close your facility, you can pay a fine, and so on and so on. But for us, we don't compromise on safety. Wherever we have gone and we have found safety issues, we really tell you to suspend your activities, not until you have addressed those issues or the safety gaps that would have been identified. So, it is assumed that when we embark on this nuclear power program, of course, we shall have another nuclear law, a comprehensive nuclear law, which will spell out now the different penalties, but currently there are also some in the Atomic Energy Act. Like I mentioned, you can be closed, you can pay fine, you can be taken to court and imprisoned.
So by 2026, we'll hope that a number of things, by the time we have the nuclear energy plant set up, the given laws will be stipulated, and perhaps if there's more that needs to be done, it will be done by then. But this is where the conference comes in as well.
Yes, actually the process has already started for coming up with a comprehensive nuclear energy law. I think if you really recall that, I think in 2014, Cabinet passed initiation of the energy policy, which is should be able to be submitted to Cabinet soon. But of course, like my CEO said, it's being developed by Ministry of Energy, but spearheaded by initiated by the Nuclear Energy Unit. So already processes have started. We should be able, because you see, we cannot go into this field when you don't have proper regulations and the enabling laws. So already, in fact, you remember you asked that how did it start? You see, the process of or the idea of going into nuclear power started a long time ago. That's why when you read the Atomic Energy Act, it has two sides. There is the regulation and then there is the promotion. So you can see it is something that started, it is not something that started yesterday. Some time back, the country thought that we need nuclear power. So 2008, that's when now I would say things started working.
Okay, well, thank you so much. On our TechNote conversation when it comes to nuclear safety and security, well, that's where Uganda stands at this point in time. We have been joined by the CEO and the Secretary General of the Atomic Energy Council, Mr. Noah Deogracius Luwarira. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And Mr. Natharius Nimbashabira, who is a Senior Radiation Protection Officer. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now we're going to be taking a short break, but also taking you to what the roads look like in our traffic update with Stephen Mbide. Keep it morning at NTV.